I don't know how many of you have miracle siblings in your life, but I happen to have one. Let me tell you guys, it is horrible living with a miracle child. Christy was my sister and a miracle child. My mother, Oprah, had her after suffering 3 miscarriages, which made doctors think that she wouldn't be able to have another child. So when Christy was born, mom basically neglected me and gave her all her attention. I must say that it wrecked me emotionally. My father had passed away a few months after she was born, so my mom's neglect made me suffer even more. Eventually, I came to accept that Christy and I would never have a good relationship. I had no ill will against her until she started to hit me and bully me. Mom did nothing to stop it, and I wasn't allowed to hit her back. I was older, but she had all the power. Things were so bad at home that I moved 4 hours away after I turned 18. I got myself a decent job and started living on my own. I kept in touch with my mother, but rarely went home because of my sister. No matter what, I still loved my mom and craved her affection. When my mother fell sick, I sent her 70% of my savings to cover the medical bills because she was taking care of an adult Christy who didn't work and still stayed with her. But things changed drastically when I got a phone call from my mom while she was sick. She was crying on the phone and said, "You need to come home, Alyssa. Something terrible has happened." What's going on? What happened, Mom? "I can't tell you everything over the phone, Alyssa. You need to come here as soon as possible. I need you by my side right now, my dear." I finally heard those words that I had been craving to hear all my life. My mother said that she needed me. After neglecting and ignoring me for over 2 decades, she finally said that she needed me by her side. She didn't ask for her other daughter, she wanted me. I told her that I would reach her soon. I didn't know what was going on, but I reached my mom as fast as possible. I even took time off work because I didn't know how bad her problems were. Since she lived 4 hours away from me, I figured that I needed a few days of leave to help her out. Yes, I did all that for her. I had never expected my mother to reach out to me for any kind of help. She always told me what a useless daughter I was and how she wished I wasn't born. I had been craving for a chance to help my mom out and show her how much I cared about her. This was my chance. There was also the fact that I actually loved her and was worried about her. She may have thought nothing of me, but I loved her like any child would love their mother. Hearing her so broken made my heart ache. I wanted to take away her pain and solve all her problems so that she wouldn't cry anymore. I dropped everything to get to her when she asked me for help. That is how much I loved my mother. But I had no idea that my actions would never be valued. Anyway, I reached my mother's house and saw that the house was sort of a mess. Things were strewn here and there, and a few things were broken. My mother was sitting on the couch sobbing and looked seriously broken. I immediately rushed to her and started to comfort her. I was worried about what was going on and said, "Mom, what happened here? Why is the house such a mess?" "God, you look awful. You need to stop crying before you get sick." "Oh, my dear Elisa, thank God you are here. I don't know what to do." "Mom, tell me what happened. Tell me everything. Where is Christy? Isn't she with you?" "That's the thing, Elisa. Christy had run away." What are you talking about?" "I am telling the truth, Alyssa. Christy had run away. She also took all the money. She cleaned out my bank account because she knew all my details. I had some cash stashed away in the house for emergencies. She took that too." "Did she trash the house as well?" "Why did she trash the house, Mom?" "She knew about my hidden stash, but didn't know where I kept it. So she tore this house apart trying to find out. Once she did, she left the house." Oh my God, this is unbelievable. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard what my sister had done. It was like things kept getting worse every time my mother added new details about what happened. I always knew that Christy was spoiled and greedy, but I didn't think that she would turn on our mother. Maybe I was just too naive to understand what went on in Christy's mind. In my head, I thought that Christy and my mom would always be close and have a great relationship. I guess she was cruel enough to steal my portion of what mom had, but I hadn't expected my sister to leave her penniless. Still, I didn't know why she did this in the first place. She had all her needs met since my mom never said no to her. So it didn't make sense why she would betray mom like this and steal from her. I had to find out why she did it, so I asked my mother, "Why did she do this, Mom? This is just so out of the blue. Christy never did anything to hurt you. There must be a reason why she suddenly decided to act like this." She wanted to move in with her boyfriend, but neither of them have a job. Christy asked me to give her my savings and jewelry so that they could live comfortably until they managed to get a job. I didn't give her the money because I needed it for my treatment. Yes, do anything wrong. Yes, you do need the money for your treatment. She was wrong to expect this from you in such a time. You understand that, Elisa. But Christy refused to take no for an answer. We had been fighting for days because she would yell at me and call me a bad mother. She just wouldn't understand my position. Now, she did this. I came home from my doctor's appointment and saw this. My mother started to cry hysterically again while I did my best to comfort her. I could understand that retelling the whole ordeal was making her sad all over again. She was really shaken up after being dealt such a bad blow. She was already a little weak and vulnerable after getting sick. So Christy's betrayal absolutely destroyed her. She wept in my arms while I comforted her and assured her that she didn't do anything wrong. I was also pretty mad at my sister and said, "Wow, I never thought Christy would be capable of hurting you so badly." God knows what she was thinking. I never thought that too, Alyssa. She took everything from me. I have nothing left anymore. Did she take literally everything? Yeah, everything, Alyssa. All my money, jewelry, and even my watches. She took whatever she could carry with her. I am so sorry, Mom. This is awful. I don't know what to do now. How will I survive? I am so sick and need the money for my treatment. I am already on unpaid leave due to my illness. You need to go to the cops. Mom, you need to tell them everything. Maybe they will be able to get the money back from Christy. No, absolutely not, Alyssa. I am not calling the cops on my child. She may have acted rashly, but she is still my child. I can't send her to jail. But you need the money back, Mom. How will you pay your bills? I don't know how I will manage everything. I guess I will have to go back to work before I was furious to know that my mother would prefer going to work while she was sick instead of calling the cops on Christy. Despite everything, she was still trying to save Christy. That should have been my red flag from the very beginning. But my heart had softened because of her tears and recent health issues. So I was more concerned about upsetting her than anything else. Since she started to get worked up over calling the cops on Christy, I decided to let go of the topic. But I wasn't going to allow my mother to go back to work and harm her health even more. So I firmly said to her, "No, you will not go back to work right now, Mom. You are still very weak. Going to work will worsen your health. But what else will I do, Alyssa? Please don't tell me to call the cops again. I can't do that to my child." Okay, fine. You don't have to go to the cops if you don't want to, but you won't be going back to work right now either. Then what do I do? Where will I even find the money? I am out of options, Alyssa. Don't worry about a thing, Mom. I am here for you. Christy may have left, but I haven't, right? I will help you. My mother looked at me with tears in her eyes. She looked at me with hopeful eyes and held my hands firmly. She couldn't believe that I was willing to make such a big sacrifice for her. She said in a shaky voice, "Really, Alyssa, will you help me? But how will you help me? You live so far away and don't earn enough for the two of us. You already gave me your savings to pay for my medical bills. Christy took away that as well. I will move here with you. I will take on 2 jobs and manage to find more money. I still have some of my savings. Even though it's not a lot, it will help sustain us until I can get a job here. Will you really do all this for me, Elisa?" You already gave me so much money, but all of it went down the drain. Mom, of course, I will do this for you. I will do anything to make sure that you get better. Please don't stress out and harm yourself. I will be here to take care of you. You don't have to worry about anything. My mother kept thanking me and telling me what a good daughter I was. Hearing those words from my mother felt so good. I had yearned to hear those words ever since I was a child. I had dreamed of this day when my mother would tell me that she was proud of me. This was the day. My mother couldn't stop praising me and told me that I had actually made all her worries go away. I did what I had promised. I moved in with my mother within a week and gave her money so that she could start her treatment again. She had to be at the doctor's every week, so she needed the money as soon as possible. I put her medical bills on my credit card while my little savings were used for grocery bills until I found a job in my mom's town. Actually, I had to take on 2 jobs to make it work. My mom's medical bills were piling up and one job wasn't going to cut it. So I worked 2 jobs to make enough money. While we didn't have the best life, we did get by comfortably. Eventually, my mom got a lot better and was able to join work after 1 year. I had worked myself to the bone, so I left one job and kept one. I didn't pay my mother's rent because I couldn't afford to. My mom never asked for rent either. We split our bills equally and stayed together because my mother still needed some support. While her health did get better, she wasn't completely cured. She still has to make visits to the hospital, and the doctor said that she shouldn't be left alone. Our relationship had improved a lot, and we had developed a good connection. So I stayed back with her instead of going back. I really shouldn't have done that. 5 years passed, and we didn't hear from my sister at all. My mom was sad all the time because she missed her. Christy was her favorite and the closest to her. It was natural that she would miss her. In these 5 years, Mom got seriously sick 3 times, and I was by her side until she recovered enough to get back to work. Mom was always grateful, and I was happy that we had a good relationship. Didn't mind that she missed Christy. I had already made peace with the fact that she would always be the favorite. I was happy enough with whatever affection my mother gave me, but things went downhill out of the blue. One day, my aunt on my mother's side had called me over to her house. She was somewhat estranged from my mother because of some issues with my sister. My aunt Samantha always called my mother out on her favoritism, which Mom didn't like. They had several fights and eventually stopped talking when Christy stole from her and tried to blame me. Well, my aunt found out the truth, but my mother refused to punish Christy. She even told Samantha that she could spare the cash because she was richer than her. That didn't sit right with Samantha, and she finally decided to go no contact with her. However, she loved me and remained in contact with me. When I told her about my moving in with my mother, she warned me that this decision would cost me later, and she was right. I realized it the day she had called me for the private meeting. Samantha had said, "Have you heard the latest news about your sister?" "No, I haven't heard anything from or about her in the last 5 years." Samantha, "Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but she is back in town." Elise said, Are you sure about that?" "Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that because I saw her with my own eyes. But she didn't contact me or my mom. That's because she contacted me first. Want to know why? Well, she is pregnant and her boyfriend kicked her out of their rented apartment." I was really shocked to hear what happened to Christy. I knew that her boyfriend wasn't a good man, but this was just next level. Then again, Christy never had a good choice in men. A good man wouldn't put up with the behavior anyway. While I did have a lot of anger towards her, I felt a little sad for her baby. What confused me was why she had contracted Samantha. I asked her, "Did she tell you all that?" "Oh God, that is bad news. But why did she call you? I mean, she took a lot of money from Mom. She can just use that to support herself." It's been 5 years, Alyssa. She already blew all her money. She now refuses to get a job to support herself and the baby. She demanded that I house her and take responsibility for her child. Typical Christy. She will never take any responsibility for anyone. I am just surprised she didn't call my mother for help immediately. Oh, I am sure the call will come soon now that I have rejected her. Apparently, I had more money and a bigger house than Oprah, so she contacted me first. Her mother is her next target. Beware, though, she plans to kick you two out and have the house all to herself. That's what she demanded from me, anyway. What made her think her plan would be successful? She has already taught us a lesson. We won't fall into her trap again. Well, she fooled Oprah once, so she can definitely do it again. She is clever enough to execute her plans because she knows that she is your mom's weakness. That's why I called you over, so that I can warn you. I don't care what happens to Oprah, but I definitely don't want you homeless. I thanked Samantha for giving me a heads up and told her that I would talk to my mother about this. I knew Samantha didn't want to talk to my mother, so I was the one who needed to tell her. To be honest, I was a little concerned for my sister since she was now pregnant and homeless, but I was also concerned that she would take advantage of my mom again. So I didn't want to give her too much leeway. Besides, I had already lost money due to her as well, so I wanted to be extra cautious. After hearing what my aunt said, I knew Christy hadn't changed one bit. She was the same entitled and spoiled woman I knew. I wasn't going to sit around and take any chances. Sadly, I was a little too late in reaching my mother with the news. I went home straight from my aunt's house to tell my mother what I knew about Christy, but turns out she already knew that Christy was in town and needed a place to stay. How did I know this? Well, I found the woman herself sitting in my mom's living room when I went back to the house. When my mom came to the door, she looked super happy. As she led me inside, I said, "Mom, we need to talk about something important." "We will do that later, dear. I have a big surprise for you, Alyssa." "Oh, I am so happy right now." "Okay, but we still need to talk about something serious later." "Oh, we will have all the time in the world for that. You need to come and see who we have in the house." You won't believe it. Well, you can only imagine my surprise when I saw her sitting on the couch and smirking at me. I didn't even know what to say because I hadn't expected to see her in the house so soon. My mother looked at me excitedly while I almost yelled at Christy and said, "What on earth are you doing here, Christy? How dare you come back here?" This is my mom's house, in case you have forgotten that. I can come here whenever I want. Have you no shame, Christy? You stole from our mother and left her with nothing while she was sick? You didn't even contact us for 5 years. You have no right to be back here. Well, Mom has already moved on and forgiven me. I don't know why you are shouting at me. Mom, do you think her yelling at me is okay? Common now, Elisa. There is no need to cause trouble. I looked at my mother in shock. She was trying to protect my sister and hinted that I was the one causing trouble. Can you imagine that, guys? She literally reprimanded me instead of my stupid sister. The wheels turned in my head, and I could understand that my sister had manipulated my mother again. My mom was trying to minimize what she had done and welcomed her back into the house. I was in pure disbelief and said, "I am causing trouble, Mom? What is wrong with you? How can you just forgive her so easily?" Oh, Christy has explained everything to me. You know, all of this was her boyfriend's plan. She didn't want to steal from me. He basically forced her, and now that the money is gone, he left her homeless while pregnant. Wow, so she has already managed to pin the blame on someone else. Mom, don't tell me you believe her sob story. Mom knows that I will never betray her. She loves me and forgives me for what happened. I don't see why you are trying to manipulate her into being mad at me. Shut up, Christy. I already know what you are up to. Aunt Samantha has told me what you tried to do. You are just here to take over the house and kick us out. No, that is not true. Mom, say something. Look at how Alyssa is talking to me. She is stressing me out and it will hurt the baby. I can't take these false accusations anymore. What has gotten into you, Alyssa? Can't you see that Christy is pregnant? You can't stress out and yell at a pregnant woman like this. I know you hate your sister, but have some compassion for your future niece or nephew. Christy will be staying with us from now on, so you need to be nice to her. I was just paralyzed from shock when my mother started to scold me for yelling at Christy. Not only had mom forgiven her, but also allowed her to stay with us. It was like Christy was getting her dreams come true again. I was completely dumbstruck as I saw my mom gush over Christy and scold me for being mean to her. Christy also cried and tried to gain sympathy from my mother, which worked wonderfully. My mom basically dismissed me and sent me to my room because I was upsetting Christy. That night, I cried when I thought about the way my mother had treated me. I hadn't expected my mother to turn on me so fast. It was bad enough that I had to live with Christy again. But the way my mother yelled at me for upsetting Christy really hurt me. I cried a lot that night, but I had no idea that things were about to become much worse. Literally, the very next morning, my mom and sister sat me down and said, "You need to find a new place to live, Alyssa." What are you talking about, Mom? I live here. This is my home. I know you live here, Alyssa, but this house belongs to me, and I have decided that having you here is not going to work out anymore. I was in shock once again because of what my mom said. She was literally going to kick me out because of my sister. I stood there frozen in shock while my mother continued talking about how I needed to be out of the house as soon as possible. When I recovered from the shock, sadness seeped into my heart and I started to cry. I said, "What's the matter, Mom? What, are you kicking me out? What's going on?" As you know, Christy has moved in with me now. She will soon give birth to my grandchild, so we would need your room to set up a nursery. You are kicking me out because of her baby? How is this fair, Mom? Why can't she share her room with her child? How dare you suggest that, Alyssa? My child will not be sharing a room with anyone. He or she deserves a room of their own. She is right, Alyssa. I want to give my grandchild the best I can, so you need to give up your room. You have been stressing out Christy anyway, so I don't want you around the house anymore. I need to make sure that the baby is healthy and safe. At this point, I was crying, but I was also pretty mad. I couldn't believe the way my mother was talking to me. She was more concerned for Christy than me. I understand that she was excited to have a grandbaby, but she was abandoning me for that. Didn't need to be this way. I wasn't stupid enough to think this was all my mom was doing. I had heard Christy cry to my mom all night. I knew that she was the one who manipulated my mother to throw me out. And my mother just forgot my sacrifices for her and went along with whatever Christy said. I laughed bitterly through my tears and said, "Wow, that's terrific, Mom. You want to kick me out over someone who stole from you and left you to fend for yourself. I have already forgiven her, Elisa. There is no need to bring that up again." So she gets rewarded with a home, while I, who actually gave you all my money and helped you when you are sick, gets kicked out. There is no reason to be so rude, Alyssa. You did the bare minimum. You weren't able to give me a very comfortable life anyway. You didn't even pay rent while you stayed here. I would have allowed you to stay and babysit my grandchild, but I can't allow that after seeing the way you treat Christy. Wow, Mom, I had no idea this was the way you felt about me after everything. So you are choosing that thief over me? Of course I would choose her, Alyssa. You have proved that you are useless garbage who will never make it big out there. At least Christy has given me a grandchild. You can't even keep a man, let alone have a baby. My mom's words hurt. I really couldn't believe that she was turning on me after what I had done for her. I was a crying mess while my mother shouted and yelled at me about how I was a useless daughter and didn't deserve anything from her. I never wanted anything but love and affection. I wanted her to like me. Turns out she was absolutely incapable of liking me. I was devastated by my mom's actions. I can't tell you all the things she said to me next. I was too overwhelmed to make sense of her words. I only remember her saying that she needed me out of the house in 2 days. As soon as I heard that, I went to my room and started to pack my bags. I left the house. Within the next hour, I drove straight to my aunt and collapsed in her arms. I told her how my mother had kicked me away from my sister and didn't even want to give me enough time to look for another place. I cried about my mom's betrayal while my aunt comforted me. She told me that I could live with her as long as I needed. I was really grateful for her help because I literally didn't have anywhere to go. I would have been homeless, which my mother had never bothered to worry about. As the days passed, all these things started to come to my mind. Slowly, I became more angry at my mother than sad. I had no feelings for Christy because she didn't even deserve to be in my thought. I only felt a lot of hurt and anger towards my mother for betraying me after everything. I took a vow that I would never help her again, even when I knew that she would be back begging for it soon. Just like I had predicted, my mother made a crying call to me in a week. Yep, it only took my sister a week to show her true colors. I was already living at my aunt's place and going to work as usual. I had reined my emotions in and made that vow not to help my mother. I had to prioritize myself instead of sacrificing everything for a woman who cared nothing about me. Since I had made peace with my decision, my mom's crying voice actually did nothing for me this time. I heard her say, "I am so sorry, Alyssa. I should have believed you. I can't believe I fell for it again. I don't know what you are talking about, Mom. I don't want to make assumptions in case you accuse me of trying to stress out my pregnant sister. I know you are mad at me, Alyssa. You should be mad at me for what I did, but I just got carried away by everything. I didn't know Christy was planning to betray me again. How surprising, Mom. Did she finally kick you out of the house like I told you she would?" "You were right, Alyssa. You were right about everything. She stole from me again after I gave her my card info to buy nursery stuff. My account is empty again. She even changed the locks to my house when I was at work. She didn't break up with her boyfriend. He is living at my house with her. This was all a grand plan to find a place for free." I couldn't help myself, guys. I started to laugh at my mother when she told me what happened. I was impressed that my sister could make such a grand plan and execute it within a few days. I felt nothing for my mom because she didn't deserve it. I knew she wanted my help, but I just said, "Would you look at that, Mom? Your favorite daughter is pretty clever, right? But I don't understand something. Why did you call this useless garbage now?" Oh my God, I am so sorry, Alyssa. I really shouldn't have said those things. I am a blind fool. I take it all back. That still doesn't explain why you called me, Mom. I need your help, Alyssa. I need my daughter. You know that I have a doctor's appointment next week. I simply don't have the money for that now. I won't get paid till the next 2 weeks. I need help, Alyssa. I need my home back too. I don't know how to get it back. Well, that's something you need to figure out with your favorite daughter, Mom, because this useless garbage is not going to help you ever again. Enjoy your only daughter and grandchild because I will never be in your life anymore. After saying this, I simply hung up on my mother. She called right back, but I blocked her as well. I had already planned to move out of my aunt's house and go back to my previous city. I had put in my 2 weeks notice and only needed to work another week before I could leave. So I knew my mother wouldn't be able to harass me for long. My mother did try to show up at my work and at my aunt's house to talk to me. She looked like a mess and was crying when she saw me. However, I refused to talk to her at work and my aunt kicked her out when she came to the house. My mother also tried reaching me through other phone numbers, but I kept blocking those calls as soon as I realized it was her. I don't exactly know what she ended up doing, but she is pretty much messed up right now. I have since moved on and started my life back again in my old city. I am loving my new job, and being free from my toxic family has done wonders for my mental health.